on him specifically, what just stands out about his game? I mean, I think he's just kind of like that one of those twitchy, quick kind of players. Can get downhill fast, can attack the basket. He also can spread the floor with his shooting ability. Can also get his teammates involved. Just does a lot of things. But what stands out about his game? What have you seen from him this year?
Man, Brent, man, he's just an old school throwback gym rat, has a great athletic, lineage in his family. His dad was a starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee. And so the kid came up, in competitive athletics, and he understands and knows what it is to be dedicated to a team. He knows what it means to produce when you're, thrown into the lineup and, you're one of the guys. He's one of them dudes, he wasn't the guy that came in and started for us as a freshman. He didn't start for us as a sophomore. He played ninth grade ball in the ninth grade. In 10th grade, he played JV and, practiced with varsity. And we started seeing glimpses, when he was practicing. We kind of call that like the red shirt year for guys that aren't quite ready for varsity, but they're on the cusp of it. They practice up, but they play down. And then we kind of get them some, squeeze them in. And if we have, a big lead in a game, and that's the only way they're going to play, and it's the bottom line. But we saw, okay, this kid has some tools. He's extremely quick. His first step is like 7 feet long. I mean, he really has a burst. He's jerky with the handle, and he's expanded his game to the three-point line. He wasn't, a really good three-point shooter early in his high school career, but he put in the time, put in the work, and now he's knocking down threes regularly. I think he's shooting at almost 40% this year from three. But we knew he was a scorer. He had the natural ability to put the ball in the hole. When he was on the JV team, he averaged like 21, 22 points playing JV ball. And, and practicing with the varsity, we saw, this kid has a knack for scoring. Last year as a junior, he was a part-time starter. We had 7 seniors last year on that team. So he worked his way into the starting lineup and earned the spot, and he produced. And it was kind of a rotating door between him and one of the seniors that graduated, Cabram Roberts, who had a really good, solid senior campaign for us. But we knew that going into this senior year, Brent was going to have a big-time breakout year. He puts in the time. He's a straight-up basketball junkie. He's never missed a day of anything. He's never missed a practice. He's never missed a walkthrough. He's never missed a film session. He might have been late once that I could actually remember for practice. And we practice in the morning. We practice from 6 a.m. to 7:35 like clockwork during the school week. I can only remember him being once late ever. And he's a great student, 3.9 GPA, 30 on the ACT. And, his best basketball is ahead of him for sure.
And last quick note on just Schaeffer. It seemed like he checks a lot of boxes, Coach. Why do you think it's just, obviously I know he has about 5-6 offers, but why do you think it's kind of taking longer for, just coaches, college coaches, just to see what of a talent and what he can contribute to a program on the next level?
He's just blowing up his senior year. That's just the bottom line of it. If he would have had this type of season, his junior campaign, I think he'd already have this thing wrapped up in terms of, getting a Division I offer. But he's blowing up here his senior year, and, he just has to stick with it. But it's just the fact that he's just, I don't even want to say he's really a late bloomer, but the senior season has been, big time. And if he would have done that last year, he would have already, sewn it up. So he just has to be consistent and finish out this year strong. And I think, coaches will eventually take notice. He's starting to really generate a lot more buzz now as we get into the middle of the season here. The first few games, he came out hot, and I think, people were just kind of like, maybe it's a flash in the pan. He's just getting off to a good start. Let's see if he can keep doing it. And that's how he's wired. This is how he plays. And so we got more big games left to play, and he just has to be consistent.
Yes, sir. Well, another player I want to talk about, Coach, is Jerron Lamel. I know he's been another big force offensively for you and defensively. Just talk about his game, Coach. What have you been impressed from him in terms of just growth from last year to this year and what he's kind of meant to your team?
Yeah, Jerron is coming along. Last year as a sophomore, we didn't expect to get much out of Jerron. Going into the sophomore season, that summer going into the sophomore season, he just was in a little funk, couldn't make a shot, just out of rhythm, somewhat, out of, poor condition. And so going into that sophomore year, we weren't very optimistic in terms of where he was at. Was he ready as a sophomore to compete full-time varsity? But lo and behold, as we got into that season, he ended up taking the job from a senior and played very, very well as a sophomore, starting probably half the games his sophomore season. And then coming into this year, he's really started to blossom. He's expanded his game to the three-point line. He can actually knock down standstill threes and mid-range jumpers, but he has great touch around the rim. He has a money jump hook, over that left shoulder with his right hand, and he has really good feel for rebounding the ball, not only in his area but out of his area. High IQ kid, knows his offense inside and out, knows his reads and his counters inside and out, and he's really starting to come into his own. Another guy with, in our program that has great basketball lineage. His dad played basketball at Auburn University for Cliff Ellis, and I think he's really, really, really coming along well for us. He's been very consistent, averaging, just under a double-double. And as the season goes on, I think he'll start to generate more buzz as well. But he's a big piece for us, and he anchors us on the back line defensively with block shots and defensive rebounds. But then he also scores it for us a little. We need him to be slightly more aggressive here, getting into the back end of the season offensively and, kind of carving out his niche. And so tonight's going to be a really good matchup for him. I'm excited for his matchup with Braden Liu, and I think he's going to bring his hard hat and be ready to put up some numbers.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I want you to kind of expound too, just some guys that are underrated. A couple that stood out to me at that game. I like the Addison Dyer's ability to stretch the floor. Kendall Agnew, he came in, knocked down some big shots for you in that game against Wheeler. But just talk about some guys that are kind of flying under the radar for you, that's been having a big impact. Whether it doesn't have to necessarily be on the court, Coach. It could be in practice. Them, coming in, playing hard. Just who are some of those kind of under the radar guys that have been having a big impact on this Langston Hughes program?
Yeah, well, the first one was Cameron Catholic. He's a senior for us. He transferred in this year, his senior season from a small private school. So he hadn't played a lot of high-level basketball and 6A basketball. And, he's every bit of 6'5", and he can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot, standstill threes. He can, create a little bit off the bounce. He's athletic enough. He just kind of, had a little bit of a sick bug here. He has the flu. He's a starter for us at the three position. He's not going to play tonight. But he's been very steady. He's not an extremely aggressive offensive player, but he has a very diverse skill set at his length and his athleticism. We need more out of him going down the stretch as well. He's going to have to be a guy that's going to have to really start to, call his own number here and there and just be slightly more aggressive for us because we need his offense. But he's a guy flying under the radar that can definitely play college basketball. A couple other guys, Kendall Agnew and Addison Dyer. They're both sophomores, so they're puppies. Both of these guys played sub-varsity basketball last year, and now they've been thrown into the fire here as sophomores because they earned the right to do so. And they've been thriving and playing very, very well for us. Kendrell, is a big, strong 6'2" combo guard, could really shoot the three, can really guard people. He can guard 1-2s and 3s. He can guard some 4s in the 6A level because he's so strong. He's every bit of 190 pounds. And then our starting point guard is Addison Dyer, and he's just a natural PG. He's another guy that's slightly ahead, of schedule in terms of him getting a lot of rotation minutes. I mean, he's a starting point guard for us right now, and he earned it. But I really didn't anticipate him being this far along this early. He had a solid summer coming into his sophomore year, and I just wanted to see more, especially on the defensive end, being able to contain his man and also, take care of the ball and get the ball out with, on time. And he's done that. He's been very steady for us, and he has a bright future ahead of him as well.